Peter Kropotkin was born in 1842 to a family in the Russian nobility. His father owned 1,200 serfs who worked on the family land. As a child, Kropotkin worked as a pageboy to the Tsar. However, in his 20s, he became disgusted by the nobility, so he joined the Russian army and was stationed in Siberia and Manchuria. During his time there, he studied the geology, flora, fauna, and people of the area. This is when he became known as a geographer. Eventually, Kropotkin returned to European Russia and became part of the Bakuninist faction of the Narodniki, a socialist revolution movement started in 1860s in Russia, based on the writings of Aleksandr, Her-zen, and Mikhail Bakunin that committed several acts of anti-Zsarist terrorism. Kropotkin himself, however, was non-violent. Kropotkin was arrested for his activism in 1874 until he escaped and fled to Western Europe in 1876, where he worked with several anarchist groups until he was imprisoned again in France in 1883. Finally, by popular appeal, he was pardoned in 1886 and moved to England to spend the last 30 years of his life working on geographical anarchist theories. Mutual aid was a term first introduced by Karl Kessler in 1879 in a speech that highlighted the importance of organisms to reproduce, as well as evidence of cooperation amongst a variety of species, including birds, insects, reptiles, and mammals. Peter Kropotkin began publishing articles on the subject in 1890, and in 1902 published Mutual Aid, A Factor in Evolution. This incorporated neo-Lamarckian ideas and further developed Kessler's observations of sociability between species. Kropotkin's expeditions in Siberia and Manchuria failed to highlight fearful competition within the same species, which had contributed to Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. Instead, Kropotkin observed mutual aid support within species in areas where there was an abundance of life. This was evident amongst birds, insects, and rodent colonies respectively. This was seen to be true later in the savages' interactions, as human societies were based on animal ones. Evidence of these bands of humans began from the glacial period, where large amounts of flint tools were found together, signifying a tribe had previously lived there. However, this changed significantly during barbaric times, where the mutual aid of high civilizations led to slaves and warfare. Pessimists believed warfare and oppression was human nature. The tradition of clans, tribes, and families has contributed to evolve even during mass disease of war. Because Kropotkin agreed with Lamarckian ideas of evolution through the inheritance of acquired traits, he disagreed with Darwin's theory of the survival of the individual fittest. However, in Darwin's later and lesser-known book, The Descendant of Man, he did suggest that mutual aid would make a species stronger and be able to survive natural selection. Known as Darwin's bulldog, T.H. Huxley vigorously defended the theory of natural selection and the Malthusian view that once a species is overpopulated, a struggle for survival would occur, which Kropotkin discredited, saying in 1902, organisms rarely reached anything approaching to overpopulation. Kropotkin also disagreed with liberal Hobbesian thinkers who hijacked Darwin's theories to further the view of life in liberal society as solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short, which opposes Kropotkin's theories of mutual aid. Jane Addams was a thinker during Kropotkin's time who disagreed with him because she believed without separate individual innovations, progress would never be made. Whilst Kropotkin's theories are still being written and discussed about today, his theories are not highlighted as much as others, such as Darwin in the West, due to political opposition of his anarchist viewpoints.